Yes, guys, what's up? It's Spessy here. Very excited for the first 3 reveals of the new season. After this video, later on today, there's going to be a big update video on my channel talking about my future in Gwent. And 2 of the big announcements are I've got a new stream schedule. I'm going to be starting at 8 AM UK time, which is currently BST. 8 AM every single day, 7 days a week. So if you want to come watch me on Twitch, that is the time. That's going to be continuing for Gwent. I am taking a bit of a break at the moment, but definitely when the expansion comes out, 8 AM BST every single morning. Also, I've made a second YouTube channel. So if you enjoy my content and you want to support me, I'd really appreciate you going over to subscribe there. But let's crack on with the reveals. There's 3 of them. I've already looked at them. And this is Filavandrel as well, the new opening cutscene. Filavandrel, the King of Elves. If you've seen the Witcher series, he is in that. He's also in the books, as well as even the new film. He even makes an appearance. And of course, he used to be in the game quite a little while ago. So it's really great to see him back. Let's talk about this card then. What is it doing? Filavandrel, he's an elf. And look, guys, he is not directly supporting Spellitel. This is pushing a different flipping archetype, guys. Let's go. This is great. I'm buzzing. All right. So he's a hand buff card. So whether you use him Invigorate or not is another question altogether. But he is in the melee row going to create and play a Squirtle special card with a provision cost equal to this unit's power. So let's say I use some hand buff cards. Let's say I use Ithleen on him. I boost him by 5. He's going to be 9 power, and I put him in the front row. I'm going to get myself a Shaping Nature, right? I'll show you guys in just a second all of the cards. Or if I get him to 10 power and I put him in the front row, I'd get Novigradian Justice or Call of the Forest. If I get him to 11 power and put him in the front row, well, he's not going to do anything because there are no 11 provision Squirtle special cards. So, 11 provisions. So in that case, I would play him in the back row, which would create and play a Squirtle special card with a provision cost equal or lower to this unit's power. So there's a chance I could just see all the bronzes, but then there might just be a chance that I get the Call of the Forest. So if something goes a little bit wrong, maybe if you're just not too confident, the back row is the safer option, but the front row is really what you want to be using this on. It's just the back row is there for, you know, to save your butt in certain situations, right? So 12 provisions, 4 power. Now, this card can brick, in theory, if your opponent plays Shillard, but I doubt that's going to happen. Just to take a quick look at all of the special cards on offer in Squirtle, there is one more as well, a new 6 provision card, which we're going to be looking at. Working in a very similar way to a Sorceress when he's just at 4 power, because it's just making a bomb, tempering, Dryad's Crest, Waylay. Again, working essentially in the exact same way. At 5 power, he's going to guarantee you Circle of Life or Rebuke if you play him in the front row, but also show the Runestone as well if that's something that you're interested in. At 6 power, Orb of Insight and Zoltan's Company. So maybe you could do some shenanigans with some dwarfs. I doubt it, but you know, who knows, maybe, right? You've got Isengrim's Council in at 8. This is a really good card as an option, of course, being able to play dwarfs, elves, and dryads. If you've got like a Dunker in your deck, you could guarantee the Dunker. All sorts of things that you might want to try and do this. Obviously, Gord is quite an obvious one in there as well. In at 9, you've got the Stag spell card. To be honest, this card sucks. I don't really see you going for this, especially because you're going to be, you know, you want to use this card in round 1 and you're going to be buffing Filavandrel in round 1 and then playing him later on, I would imagine. So this isn't the card you're going to be wanting to go for. Shaping Nature, I mean, it's all right, to be fair, but it's not exactly setting the world alight. Again, if you're going for Shaping Nature, you'd want to use it in round 2, so then you get your Shaping Nature for round 3, but Shaping Nature isn't the greatest card. Definitely a consideration, though, if you're playing Nature's Gift, right, with Hammer Dryads. That's where this card really comes into its own. I think the main region you're looking for in this card is 10 provisions, which is going to be Novigradian Justice, Call of the Forest. Justice, if you have a Bronze Dwarf in your deck, remember you're going to need to have a Dwarf of some kind on the board for this to actually get the Cleaver's Muscle as well, because that is quite a big nerf to this. So if you're wanting to go Justice, you need a Dwarf on the board and you need one in your deck. So it's not going to be the easiest, but Call of the Forest is just always going to be decent. It's working basically just like a tutor card for anything in your deck +1. Obviously buffing up your Gord, triggering any things like Whisperers, etc. And then also in at 12, you've got Gambit. So you might want to do some tactics shenanigans. I very much doubt it. But one thing I am excited to try is the Waters of Broccoli. Let's say I play my first Waters of Broccoli that I put in my deck. I put it on the board, bang. Then I play my Filavandrel at 12 power to play a second Waters of Broccoli. My Filavandrel is going to give me the Elf tag, which is going to trigger the Harmony on the first set of Waters of Broccoli, and then the second one won't trigger. But that's just something to consider, that obviously you are going to be triggering the first set of your broccoli. So it's definitely exciting to see double waters of broccoli on back. I think this is the only real way of doing it. Please let me know if I'm mistaken, if there's any other ways. So if you just play him in the back row, he's working like a sorcerer. If you're just playing him generally, he's like a gold version of a sorcerer, which can't, you know, it's going to get value on deploy, so that's a key difference. Obviously, the sorcerer or the sorceress, you have to play leave it on the board, whereas with Filavandrel, it's deploy, so that's definitely a benefit. But absolutely, it's going to be hand buff that you're looking to do. So Invigorate, I think, is the leader of choice, because there is also another card which is working with hand buff, and also it's going to be another option for Filavandrel, and it is Bountiful Harvest. So it's 6 provisions. Just while we're thinking about Filavandrel, it's just going to slot into this little slot here, right? With Zoltan's Company, Orb of Insight, and the Bountiful Harvest. So if you get Filavandrel to 6, you can play the new card. Also very important to think that this is a nature card, and it's a bronze, so you can play it off the Sorceress, just like you could with an Orb at 6. Of course, not guaranteed. But also, excitingly, you can play it from Forest Protector as well. So this is going to be a Forest Protector option for you. And the Bountiful Harvest, being a nature card, of course, is a little bit tricky to get your head wrapped around exactly how it works, but I will talk you through it, no problems at all. It is going to create and play a bronze Bountiful Harvest elf, which there's 6 of as it stands. Then, depending on the position of the chosen unit, boost the leftmost, the random, or the rightmost unit. So, you're going to play Bountiful Harvest. It's going to create a Bountiful Harvest elf. If you pick the one on the left-hand side of the options, because you're going to have 3, if you pick the one on the left, you're going to boost the card at the left side of your hand by 2. If you pick the one in the middle, it's going to boost a random card in your hand by 2. And if you pick the option on the right, it's going to boost your rightmost card in your hand by 2. So let's imagine you've got Sheldon at the right hand side of your hand, Sheldon Skaggs, who of course you want a hand buff or on a glaze, something like that. Then you're going to want to pick the card on the right side, but the card on the right side might kind of suck, you know. You might then be more tempted to just go for the better value card. So do you prioritize the better value card, or do you prioritize the hand buff? Really cool and exciting card. Definitely an exciting one to see, and it's, you know, linking in with the Whisper as well. I think this is like a dual card art of some kind in there as well, if you hadn't noticed that already. Let's take a quick look at the Bountiful Harvest elves on offer, because of course it's just the bronze ones. There are 6 as it stands, but of course, having already seen Filavandrel and this card, wouldn't be completely surprising to see more Bountiful Harvest in this set, because we've still got 2 more Scoia'tael cards which haven't been announced yet. So we have in at 4 the Bountiful Harvest Bomber. This is a 6-point card. Bear in mind as well, this is going to trigger your scenario as well, right? You can use these to trigger your scenario, which is quite interesting. If you think about a lot of the decks recently, they have been playing elves and they have been triggering scenario, but now you can trigger your scenario with a special card. Are there any other cards in the game that you can trigger a scenario with that's a special? I mean, there's Reinforcements, which is a gold, and you know, you need other cards on the board for that to happen. There's also the Freya, but again, you do need some setup. Is this the first card of its kind where you can actually just directly trigger a scenario with it without any other, you know, elves or siege engines in the deck, right? It's kind of interesting. Let me know in the comments if it is, or if there's anything I've forgotten about. But this is a 6-point card. The Bowman is also a 6, but you've got potentially 3 removal. The Whisperer, we know how good this is. The Sorceress, which I think is going to be a really key card. Imagine you go Bountiful Harvest into a Sorceress, and then you get the Sorceress boost back up to 6. You get another Bountiful Harvest into a Sorceress. Does sound pretty filthy if you can pull that off, but of course you're going to require a lot of RNG, and also you're going to need to be able to boost the Sorceress you play from Bountiful Harvest for that to be a possibility, but that sounds exciting. You've also got the Sentry, which I think is often going to be the worst option from this, but also maybe that just means that Bountiful Harvest could see play in movement Scoia'tael decks. You might just try and force them in there to try and get an extra movement piece. Does sound a little bit risky, but the card is just not that bad anyway, right? And you could even play Invigorate in Movement ST to boost up things like your sentries anyway. It's something that you might have seen me do on my channel if you haven't seen that video already, invigorating the ladder. Bountiful Harvest Archer is one of the highest value. It's a 7-point card, and it just gives you a little bit of removal. You could maybe use it with a Shiru or something like that to help line things up. So in terms of the stats, you're probably looking at an average of 6 points from your Bountiful Harvest, plus the 2 hand buff, and obviously it's got the nature tag as well. So you're looking at about 8 points if you're just assuming that the 2 points are not worth that much. But it's carryover. We think how good Circle of Life is in at 5 provisions. I know we don't see it all the time anymore, but the Bountiful Harvest is a provision more, and it's playing for a lot more tempo while giving the exact same amount of hand buff. Now, this is slightly more targetable in certain situations, but also in other situations, Bountiful Harvest is better, right? Because you can try and manipulate your hand to get something like a glaze, like a Sheldon, to the far right or the far left side of your hand, and then you can just guarantee picking that option to boost it. Whereas with the Circle of Life, you are relying, of course, on getting that death blow, which is not always what you're going to be wanting to do at that moment in time. So I think the Bountiful Harvest is a brilliant and exciting card, and I have to say, the thing I'm most happy about is that we are seeing other archetypes being supported. This is exactly what the game needs right now, in my opinion. We've had also almost 4 months, right, of spell Squirtle, so to see other things getting pushed is great. And of course, there's definitely an overlap. This is a spell card, but you know, just seeing maybe a different leader being pushed, all these sorts of things, I'm very, very excited. But that's not the end of the reveals today. There's one more, and it's a neutral card, and there's a lot to unpack with this one. The Mushy Truffle. It's a location, it's neutral. We've seen 2 neutral cards every set so far. We saw Megascope and the teleportation in the first one, and then the second one we saw Dwimvendra and Verification. So the Mushy Truffle is the first of this set. Of course, it's got resilience, it's an artifact. On deploy, you spawn and play a bonded unit from your starting deck, and the order is you spawn and play Golden Froth. So Golden Froth is an alchemy card. Let me just pull it up and let's just have a look at all the bonded cards, because instantly the obvious place that your head goes to with this one is going to be in Druid SK with the Preachers, right? The Preachers are definitely pretty exciting. So let's just first of all take a quick look at what this Golden Froth card is. It is a 4 provision alchemy card. Here it is, which is playing for 6 points, which is really not bad. Now, of course, look, alchemy is going to be even better in SK, in something like a Geddy deck, or you know, using your Battle Trance. You've got Crow Mother synergy here with the Golden Froth, and obviously healing synergy as well with it being an alchemy card. So you get a Golden Froth, which is going to be definitely good in SK, but it's also just 6 points of carryover anyway, because you know this is an order. So it's playing a card. It's spawning a card, so Idaran as well, and then it's going to spawn a Golden Froth with the order. Also, Dwimvendra, which is the card I mentioned just before, who hasn't really been popping off too much. Maybe this is explaining the idea behind Dwimvendra with this card, because it does seem to link in quite a bit. Dwimvendra, you can set or refresh the order of an allied location. So Dwimvendra in an alchemy SK deck is going to be a 10-point card that's playing an alchemy. That's pretty bloody good. Now, of course, it's not guaranteed, but your location is going to be on the board for 2 turns, right? It's going to be on the turn on the round you play it, and also the following round because of its resilience. So seeing Dwimvendra in there is going to be pretty exciting. Now let's look at the bonded cards on offer so far, because again, there could be a possibility we see more if we're seeing this Mushy Truffle as the neutral card. It might be supporting other cards. These are all of them in the game. Now, the one that jumps to mind straight away is the Crow Clan Preacher. Bear in mind, you're spawning a bonded copy. Now, that's very different between playing one from your deck, because previously, the only way you could get multiple cards of a bonded card would be using something like a Dahlia. So, a Dahlia reinforcements, right? So the Mushy Truffle is spawning and playing one from your starting deck. So any of these are on offer because it's a neutral card. So if you're playing 2 Crow Clan Preachers, you can spawn another one with the Mushy Truffle. Obviously, you can get one off the Geddon if you might play Megascopes and Idaran as well, because it does have Idaran synergy. If you have your Idaran down on the board and you play your Mushy Truffle, you're not only going to play one of the bonded, you're not going to spawn just one bonded, you're going to play another one. Now, if we just take a quick look as well at the keywords, it's going to be spawning and playing. So the way this would work is if you have, let's say, Idaran sat behind a defender, and then you play the Mushy Truffle, I believe it would spawn first of all the Idaran one, and then you would play the bonded. So if any of these bondeds have deploys, for example the Bearmaster, you would actually get that instant bonded deploy if Idaran's on the board. But I don't think that's the main way to use this. The main way to use Idaran is going to be if you've got, you know, a Megascope where you get value on deploy, but that just means that Idaran's going to be more of a threat, right? Like if your opponent doesn't answer that Idaran instantly, they're going to have to they're going to be in trouble potentially. So yeah, the Crow Clan Preacher is the obvious one with the fact that it's playing an alchemy card, but it's definitely not the only one. The other thing that I'm really excited for, honestly, is the Cut Up Lackey. It's probably more of a bit of a memey one, but of course you've got Horse and Senior, you've got Igor and Idaran and Megascopes, all sorts of ways of playing the Cut Up Lackeys, and you've now got the Mushy Truffle. Does mean you'd have to put this in your starting deck, but the other key one in Syndicate is the Sly Seductress. You get them off Adriana, you get them off the Passiflora, you get them, of course, just by playing them, and now you can get even more off the Mushy Truffle. You can play Igor and Idarin as well for even more of these. So definitely Syndicate one to look out for. You've also, in Nilfgaard, got the Pikeman. We have seen some Alba Pikeman decks in days gone by using things like Operator, and then you can use Informants, and then you've got the Mushy Truffle in there as well. It's just an extra way of spawning and playing, which again, if you've got a Darren down on the board, is going to give you 2 for the price of 1. So that's an exciting one. Lower down the line, the Beggar I don't think is going to be really anything considerable when compared to this. The PFIs, again, I mean, it could be something you wanted to do in a Draug deck. But speaking of Draug, I wonder if it's time for the return of the Caravan Vanguard and Draug, right, with the Mushy Truffle. Because the Caravan Vanguard was the main way to play Draug back in the day, because this card is playing for 9 points on the Bonded. Like, this is really quite a good card for 5 provisions as a neutral, right? This was 6 provisions for a long time, but then you could have Dahlia Reinforcements it, which you're not able to do anymore. You can only use those cards on Northern Realms. But with the Vanguard and the Mushy Truffle, while you can't Reinforcements it, the Mushy Truffle is going to be able to spawn and play a bonded unit from your starting deck, which is going to give you a 3rd one of these. So again, if you've got a Darren down on the board, you're going to get a ton of these, and then you can slam down your Draug or something like that, right? So definitely interested to see if this is going to support a Draug deck at all. In Northern Realms. Just seems like a great card to do an abundance of things. I think that they're the main cards that you're going to be looking at. I don't think you're going to be... I mean, Harpy, honestly, kind of interesting as well, right? Because it gives you an extra consume. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Obviously, Harpies do have the bonded tag. The Harpy egg is really, really valuable. They're beasts. So maybe in a Rat Swarm deck with Morvard, this is something you might consider going for as well. So definitely some exciting things to consider here. I think the main one is going to be the Preacher, and then the Pikeman as well as the Syndicate cards creep in. Definitely want to try out the Vanguard and the Harpy. Cards like this are opening up a ton of possibilities, and definitely my favourite card of the expansion so far has been the Megascope for that exact reason, because it's a neutral that opens up all these different possibilities. Now, if we just do take a look at the neutral cards, as I'm fumbling around in my deck builder from the whole expansion so far. Obviously, we've only seen one of the neutrals from this set, but we had the Megascope, which pushed loads of decks. We have the Teleportation, which again did have it has pushed some decks, like a little bit of mill action. It was a fun little card to play around with. We've seen Dwimvenger, which hasn't really been doing much, but maybe now is the time for Dwimvenger, because she is going to be able to give you even more of these bonded cards. So all these bonded cards we looked at, Dwimvenger can give... No, she can't! I'm talking nonsense. She can't give you more of the bonded. She's just going to give you the Alchemy card, right? She's going to give you the Alchemy. She's still a 10. Mainly, she's just going to probably be used in decks that already have a good scenario. A good location. I'm having a bit of a stinker here. But also, good scenario, I guess, is also an option. But I think you could definitely see her being used in a non-devotion SK Alchemy deck, because, of course, this card is a neutral as well. Now, towards the end of this video, they did mention as well that they're going to be doing another video quite soon about the future of Gwent. And they've also got a new leader skin, which is the Witchfinder here. So look out for that. And I think the best offer is out right now to get that. So they're the 3 new cards. We have Filavandrel, who on paper I don't think looks that strong, but definitely good. And I think that's a positive thing. This card does not look broken or OP, so that's a great sign. We've also got the Bountiful Harvest, which is my favourite, I would say. Maybe it's my second favourite. I really like all 3 of these cards, I have to say. And again, the fact they're pushing other archetypes, guys, this is what we want, yeah? This is what's so exciting about having new card drops every couple of months. Like, this, I think, is what I would like to see moving forwards, where we don't just see the same archetypes being pushed in back-to-back sets, but rather lots of different things being pushed to really try and galvanize the meta, galvanize that. So this is a cool card. And then finally, the Mushy Truffle, I think, can just push so many cool, interesting decks, which is exactly what I want in a card, especially a neutral. So, thoughts and reactions and feelings on the cards. I'm going to give them ratings out of 10, which incorporates power level, balance, flavor, how excited I am to use them, right? So, Filavandrel, first of all. I'm going to give this card a 10 out of 10, guys. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10, right? Okay, maybe a 9 out of 10, because I don't think it's super powerful, but also that kind of makes me want to give it a 10 out of 10, because I think that's a good thing. I'm excited that it doesn't look Omega broken. I'm excited that it just looks good in a niche kind of deck, and it's going to really push and support, and I'm giving it a 10, guys. I'm giving it a 10. I'm doing it. I don't care. I'm excited to use the card. Bountiful Harvest, I'm going to give... guys, I'm going to give it a 10. This card just looks sick. It's a nature card, so it's supporting Nature's Gift, but it's also supporting Invigorate. It's synergizing with Forest Protector, the Sorceress. It's synergizing with Filavandrel, Aglace, Sheldon. Yes, please. Yes, please. Okay, cool. And finally, the Mushy Truffle. Guys, I'm giving it a 10, mate. I just am. Like, this card is supporting so many different archetypes. I just don't care, mate. Like, you might say, especially you're overreacting. Guys, let's get excited. Let's get hyped. It's time. The new expansion is on the horizon, and I am flipping ready. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Again, make sure you subscribe to my second channel if you want to support my content as I try and, you know, expand and improve what I'm trying to do. Just before I do go, let's just take a quick look at all the hand buff cards in the game that are already there. You've got Ithleen, who is boosting by 4. You've got Aglace, who, you know, I'm a big fan of, guys. Sometimes I do try and use Iris Companions to guarantee her in my hand. That's a little bit spooky as an idea, but maybe just run her and Sheldon. Triss Butterfly's got buffed quite recently. You've also got Sheldon Skaggs, of course, who's the main man with the Dwarfs. You've got Francis Bedlam, who is not really going to be in these decks. He's just like a neutral version of Dunker. You've got Sarissa, who, again, it's very important to realise with this Filavandrel card, it's an elf. So you have to use specific cards, like Frixenet, for example, can only buff Dryads. Sarissa, all these other cards can buff any card at all. So Sarissa is a really cool card. She got buffed really quite recently. She's got the Harmony tag, and if you get the Death Blow, she is going to be boosting a unit in your hand by 2. You've got Donker, you've got the Smugglers, which of course, if you really wanted to, you could use Megascopidaron on. You've got the Mahakam Defender, which is a card that you've seen me use in my Invigorate decks recently. The Dwarven Agitators, which is the card to buff Sheldon, and a card I really should have mentioned earlier on in the video, the Saboteur, which is a great card with Filavandrel because it's going to boost him by 2, and it gives you a cheap carryover play for 4 provisions. It's like just a new version of the Agitator, right? But with the Agitator, you use it on Sheldon. With this, you're going to be using it on Filavandrel. So that is my reaction to the first 3 cards. I'm excited for more reveals. I'm going to be posting them when they come out, trying to get them up and as soon as I possibly can. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Comment down below, what do you guys think? Am I overreacting to the hype, or are you guys just as hyped as I am? Again, please subscribe to the second channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and yeah, I will see you a bit later on because I'm posting a video quite soon about my future in Gwent. But as you can probably tell by my hype, I'm not quitting. Much love, guys. Take care.